All right. My background was with the General Electric Company, and I was the manager of training and development there. And one of the things that I learned is a system called Workout that eventually led into Six Sigma. And that program in itself saved the company billions and billions of dollars. And the way they did is they basically looked at everything we did, tore the whole process apart, and put it back together with the help of each individual group. We didn't take all the employees, but we took certain key employees, got them involved in looking for ways to improve things, looking for things that were messed up, and coming up with solutions to make it better. So this whole program that we're going to talk about today is based on that fundamental idea of what I've learned at General Electric Company, and a few extra things that I've learned along the way. So here's a little outline of what's going on. We're going to talk first about what's going on in a contract business and why I feel it's important to show this particular web event. Number two, we're going to talk about the components of success, why process management is important, why it works, and we're going to discuss the difference between project and process management because I'm a business coach. I go into companies and then I hear them say, well, we already got a project manager to handle projects. No, that's something different. It's not process management. So we'll discuss that. We're going to discuss why it's important to have good business processes in place and an easy way to get them implemented. Well, not super easy, but much easier than you think. And then we're going to talk about distribution of information in the workplace and how it could go wrong or go right, or how it could be done poorly or done not so well or really well. And then we're going to do a Q&A afterwards. So let's begin. A little bit of information about how things are in business. First of all, the plumbing, heating, and AC careers are projected to grow 21% through 2022, which is significant. We don't even have enough people in the business as it is today, and then we have most of them going to be retiring over the next 10 years. So now we have a big void, and the people who will do well, best out of all, are the ones who really understand business and who really understand the newer technologies. According to a 2009 Manpower Talent Shortage Survey, the most difficult jobs to fill are in those of skilled trades, such as plumbing, heating, and air conditioning, and electricians. So that's causing a big problem also. Plumbing, heating, and here's the funny part is there was a study done by the University of Tennessee in 2012, and they had determined that the highest failure rate, 47%, is in the plumbing, heating, and air conditioning business. And primarily it has nothing to do with your technical ability to be able to do the job well. The problem is the business knowledge and the processes of systems in business that most plumbers don't understand when they first start. Because I've seen plumbing companies they're growing, and heating and air companies growing, and in about 5, 6, 7 years, they run out of money, and they don't understand why, because they haven't managed their systems well. And I found who's usually the toughest competition in this type of business? It's us. It's the people in it are causing the biggest amount of grief. It's funny, and you'll probably have to agree, just whenever you go to a major event where there's a bunch of plumbing, heating guys, and skilled tradespeople around, they'll all talk about the same thing. Oh, these competitors are doing this. They don't understand business. They're underbidding everybody. It's us. It's funny, but it's true. Albert Einstein says, we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking that we used when we created them. So it requires change. If you want to do anything differently, better than before, you can't keep doing it the same way. So we have to focus on that. I wrote an article for a magazine, and I have a newsletter that I send out too, and I put together something called the key components of a successful business. And number one, of course, I wrote simple and easy processes that everyone in the business understands. Consistency in deployment of services, which means if you're going to be out doing work for someone, make sure it's consistent with the last guy who was doing work there. If you're sending out different people to do the same job, the customer expects this consistency. And when someone comes out and does something different because you don't have systems and processes in place, it causes a problem, and you want to confusing your customer, which is something you don't want to do. Team development with a common mission. Everyone should be focused in the same direction, winning, and they should know how to keep score. The next one is a measurement and reward system, which kind of goes with keeping score, but if a person does exceptionally well, they should be able to have some sort of feedback mechanism that gives them a reward, even if it's just a pat on the back, hey, good job, we appreciate it. That's an reward system. A lot of places that I've gone to as a business coach, the employees don't hear anything until someone screams at them for something they did stupid or something they messed up. And they did 100 things right, nobody noticed. They did one thing wrong, everybody noticed. Leadership and team dedicated to excellence, there is no, that's just good enough in business. You know, I'm dedicated to do everything that I can at the best of my ability. I don't want to be second. I want to be first. I want to be the best I can be. I'm not focusing on, oh, well, that's good enough, I got paid. I don't work like that, and neither should anyone else, especially if you run your own company or you're managing a group of people. Fast response to challenges and issues in the house or in a building or wherever you're doing your work. You know, you should have a system in place so when something goes sour, there's a system and a mechanism to make it right. A fast response to challenges in the market where every business should be able to respond quickly when the market changes or when there's a competitor doing something different. And I went to a company one time and I was doing a little workshop for some employees, and they were telling me how they started offering a free estimate service call for anybody who wants one. And I thought, why are you doing that? That's stupid. I don't agree on offering a free service call. I mean, you know, you run your own business, do what you want, but I don't think that makes sense. They said, well, our biggest competitor started doing it, so we have to start doing it. You know, and to me, that's like, I would never do that. I would tell people, or my market and my customers, nothing's free. That would be my comeback. You know, you're going to be paying for it eventually. Willingness to adapt and change when necessary. The world's changing, the economy's changing, the market is changing, everything's changing around you on a regular basis. You have to keep up. You have to look at your business every year and see, what do I need to re-engineer, what do I need to fix? Now, I'm going to tell you a little story about my kids, and because this has kind of got me where I am as far as systems and processes are concerned. When my kids were 5 and 7, their mother died. You know, my wife died. We lost her. She had a brain aneurysm. Unexpected. We had no idea, you know, this was going to happen. So here I am stuck with 2 kids. I really didn't know what to do with, because I was one of those husbands that went to work, come home, have a beer, sit on the couch, watch TV, go to bed. Next morning, get up, go to work. And at that time, I was working probably 6-7 days a week. I was a service manager for RCA, so we were real busy, and we just didn't have enough people. We're trying to run overtime, and I was constantly focused on work. I mean, it was at the point where I never changed a diaper. I mean, I never did that until, you know, I got stuck at home with a kid one time, and I had forced myself. My 3-year-old son was giving me tips on how to get it done. I know, it's terrible, isn't it? But anyway, when they were 5 and 7, their mom died, and I didn't know what to do. So what I did is I used what I learned in boot camp. And thank goodness I went to boot camp. I was one of those crazy people that actually liked boot camp because there was structure there. When I was a kid, there was no structure. I did whatever I wanted, but there was structure. Every day you had a plan of the day. So what I do with my kids is I had a plan of the day for each day of the week. I didn't make it up. We as a team sat down and made up what needed to be done every day, what needed to be done every week, how we were going to get it done, who was responsible to get it done, and how what would happen if you didn't follow the rules, and what rewards you would get if you did everything right all week. So we put together a plan for each day. We had 7 pieces of paper that showed every day of the week, and it worked. They knew exactly what penalties were if they didn't do their job. They knew exactly what the rewards were. They knew exactly what was expected of them every day, and if they forgot, they can go look on a wall and read it, and it was there. So worked real well. Both of my kids are incredibly successful. My son's a cop, loves his job, been doing it 6 years now, won all kinds of awards. People love him. He's doing great. Best thing in the world for him. He says it's the best job he's ever had. He loves it. My daughter just got promoted to be part of the corporate office for State Farm Insurance. They're moving her to Bloomington, Illinois. And this is her 7th promotion in 8 years. And I'm very proud of her. Doing real well. And it's because of the structure. They had systems, and they had places and things that they knew they had to do. And then when they were punished, when they did something wrong, they got an appropriate punishment. They already knew what the punishment was because we decided up front. In fact, we had a thing, if they complained about the penalty, they would wind up getting double penalty. And if they kept complaining, it was double, double, double. My daughter at one time, I had to ground her for 38 weeks, and then she still messed up again. So it was a period of 10 months that she was grounded, and I was stuck with her. And here I'm trying to live a social life. Finally, they're at an age where I can date, and I can't because I got to carry this girl around with me. So, you know, in fact, she brought up last week, yeah, Dad, remember when you grounded me for a year? I said, no, it's 10 months. I remember it like it was the worst experience of my life. I didn't like it either, but, you know, I stuck to my word. I didn't vary it by one day. So, I mean, it was cast in stone. And one of the things my kids learned, if my dad says something, it's going to happen. So, let's go into the program. Now, since probably a lot of you do heating and air conditioning, I'm going to ask you a question. I know you're not going to be able to respond, but think about this. What does leaky ducts create? What does it cause? Well, if you have leaking ducts, and you know, one of the reasons you're not allowed to have leaking ducts anymore, because most everywhere you're supposed to seal them now, all the connections and everything. But leaking ducts, when you have that, you wind up having reduced efficiency and wasted energy. So it'll cost you money. So in response to that, the government agencies have put together codes and standards that require the sealing of ductwork to improve system performance and increase efficiency. Okay? When you have something that isn't working correctly, then you put in guidelines and systems and rules to keep things working correctly and to their top possible highest level of performance. In business, a lack of standardization, a lack of teamwork, or a lack of defined processes reduces efficiency, increases labor costs, and reduces profitability. I go into a lot of businesses, and to help, I tell you, the biggest problem in probably 90% of them is a lack of rules, standardization, teamwork, processes, and rules and regulations. They're not there. So let's get into what I think is a huge problem in the industry. Now, there's a difference between project management and process management. You know, on the left side on your screen, you'll see the guy drawn, you know, you initiate, you plan, you monitor, control, you execute, and complete. And then it's done in project management. Whereas in process management, well, let's go through it again. A project has a beginning and an end. Although the beginning and end may not be well defined when a project starts, and the end might be a long time in the future, there is a beginning and end in project management. A process management system, however, is something that is typically defined around the ongoing operation of something. For example, providing ongoing maintenance for company vehicles or taking service calls and dispatching them. That's a process. That's constantly, every day, there's no end to it. It's constant. And at the end of getting the service call done, there's more things that come in after that. So it's a little bit different than project management. Project is a beginning and an end and a bunch of stuff in between, and you complete it, then you go on. You may have another one similar, but it's not really a business process. It's a process. So basically, we're looking at a repetitive sequence of tasks, and the tasks are known at the outset since it's repetitive. In other words, everybody will know what's going to happen throughout the process. When projects, who knows? You know, anything could happen. There's two key components of success that I think are vital to being profitable and performing highly in any business. It could be a shoe store, a nightclub, bar, restaurant, contracting business. Have simple rules, have systems and processes in place that everybody can understand and implement. And number two, create methods that allow your team to find answers to their questions, or already know the answers to their questions or concerns, without having to involve a bunch of people or to waste time trying to figure things out. So you have to have the systems in place and then a method for the people to find the rules and the steps to the system. And if you can do that, now you have a well-run, fine-tuned business machine. So why do we want to do all this? Well, it's obvious. You want to maximize efficiency. You want to limit your rework and errors. You don't want to have problems, you know, where people have to go back and do work again. You want to improve your overall quality. You want to create rules and ability to keep score so people will know how they're doing. You know, just like a baseball team or softball team or football team, people want to know what the score is. You know, think about the last time you watched a basketball game on TV. How many times did you look at the score whenever they put a basket in? Every time. You know, like what's going to be different, you know, and if they're a little slow, you get all worked up. Oh, they didn't put the score up, and then they do, like somebody missed it. You're the only one that noticed. You know, I mean, we're anal about that in sports, but are we that tight on keeping score at work? Most people don't. They just kind of go through, and by the end of the month, hey, we got money left, you know, and that's not a way to efficiently run things. Want to improve quality, want to create rules, ability to keep score, we want to reduce training time. You know, I was a training manager and in charge of field support for GE appliances. And I tell you, if you send someone, let's say, for a week of training, you're lucky if they remember 5%. And then the longer they go without actually doing and doing hands-on on what they learned, the less and less they remember. So by the time they finally see whatever they were trained on, they have to start digging for the books that they got at their class because they can't remember anything because it's gone, because it wasn't used. It was just, they sat in a room, watched people do things, watched people talk, looked at pictures, looked at drawings. Oh, sorry. And it doesn't work like that. I've always been an advocate. In fact, I did this at GE. We made these little booklets that fit in the back pocket of every employee, and it had everything they could possibly run into in those booklets. There was 92 of them. Everything they could possibly see or have to run into, every part number, every type of problem that we could think of, every type of measurement that was supposed to be on a product was there. So we had 92 different books that we had in every truck. And they're little, they could fit in the back pocket, but it worked. Now, why spend a bunch of money sending someone training where you could just give it to them when they need it, as they need it, when it's needed most on the job? And then processes provide consistency, where customers want consistency. If everybody follows the rules and the guidelines, then you'll have consistent service, consistent work, consistent customer relations. It's done the way you expect it to be done. McDonald's. I'm not a big fan of McDonald's food. Every once in a while I have to have a Big Mac and shake, you know, maybe twice a year, and then I realize why I don't eat at McDonald's. But I don't want to knock the company, but they do a good job of doing what they do. No matter what McDonald's you go to, they're consistent. Fries taste the same no matter what McDonald's you go to, whether you're in Seattle, Washington, or Tampa, Florida. The Big Mac's going to taste the same. The fries are going to taste the same. In fact, when you go into McDonald's, they're all laid out the same. They use the same systems, the same processes, the same training, the same methods, the same language, the same, you know, blurbs that they tell people. It's consistent, and that's why they're successful. They have systems and processes that everyone understands, and they follow them. And I've read this from various people who are experts in business. If successful leaders manage processes, not people. Once you have the processes in place, all you do is teach the people. All right, there's 5 reasons, and I'm going to throw this in here, and you'll find out why I'm telling you this. There's 5 reasons why employees don't perform well. Number 1, they have personal issues, family, trust issues. Who knows? Something's going on in their life that's causing them a problem, and sometimes you can help, sometimes, most of the time you really can't. You kind of help them, kind of hopefully they'll get through it. You know, divorce, kids going nuts, whatever, drugs, and, you know, things go on. Number 2, they don't know how to do it. You're sending them out, they don't know what they're doing. That's fixable. That's very fixable. You show them how to do stuff. So that's a process thing. Number 3, they don't understand the rules or the processes. Typically, this happens to a new employee or someone who just came over from another company that, oh, well, at the old place we used to do it like this. Well, we don't do it that way here. Now, it's a communication problem. That could be fixed. Number 4, they can't. What's that mean? They just don't have the ability. It's like trying to take someone who hates being around people, who has poor personality, but's a workaholic and can get the job done. It's probably not the guy you want to send out to sell maintenance agreements or to try to convince customers to buy an accessory or to be the guy to go out and solve a customer problem. So, you know, you have to kind of push them in a job that doesn't require involvement with other people. And number 5, don't care. Maybe fixable, maybe not. depends on their situation. You might have a guy, yeah, I work my 40 hours, I go home and get drunk, and they do the minimum requirement, and sometimes that's okay, most of the time not. So why am I telling you these things? Well, there's two that you can fix with processes, and that's these two. Don't know how to do it, and don't understand the processes or the rules that you have implemented. Those are easy fixes if they know the steps that you want them to go through. So, process mapping. This is how the whole thing begins. First of all, you have to isolate a situation or a process within your workplace that you feel needs help. So the goal of the process map is to improve business results. So let's say you're going to take how to take a service call and you want to process map that. So what you do is you get the people who are involved in taking service calls. You probably want a service technician there, and you probably want someone from, administration there because paperwork has to be right. And then you sit the people in a room and you have them lay out exactly their understanding of how this system should work. And I used to use like 5x7 cards and tape them to a wall. Now you can use like sticky notes or something like that. But then you lay it all out and you look for all the things that could possibly go wrong in each step of the process. And then you come up with a solution or a new method that keeps things from going wrong. And then you rewrite the whole process and you put it in paper. And then you look at it and you get a couple people's input if you think that'll work. And then you change your system. And then you put it all in a document so everybody has it in front of them. Step 1 is this, step 2 is this, step 3 is this. If it's yes or no, it goes this way. Kind of like a troubleshooting chart, except it's a business process. So the goal is to improve business results. It's kind of like creating a roadmap from beginning to end, including every potential obstacle and issue that could arise or a detour. So what you do is describe everyone's task within that system. Like I said, you lay it all out. Make sure you use input from the team members and try to get people who are vocal or people who actually talk versus everyone sitting in a room and agreeing with everybody or just saying, yeah, you're right. And I would have tried to keep senior management out, try to just get the key people involved who are there and let them do it. They'll probably do better just doing it their own way, and they won't feel like trying to impress you or trying to feel influence from you. And then you could also, when you lay out process maps, you can also put together a book of work rules or an employee handbook or a list of things that every employee needs to know and rules to follow while you're doing that, because people do like rules. People do like to know what they're allowed to do and not allowed to do. And that should be communicated effectively, and they should write something, their name on something that says they understand these rules. Because what happens now is if you have a set of rules and the potential outcomes of doing negative behavior, now you can have someone, let's say, who's coming late 3 times in a month, and if the 4th time they come in late during a month, they get off day off with no pay, and you put that in writing and you hand it to each employee, and they know that within the 30-day period of time they come in late 4 times, they're going to get a day off with no pay, they'll get a day off with no pay. And there's no arguing because they signed an agreement and they know what the rule was. It's like strike 3, you're out in baseball. You had a fly ball in the center field. I don't care if you made it to first base. He caught it, you're still out. Everybody knows that. Here's how we typically assign work. Here's your stuff. Here's what I want you to do with it. Here's what we expect when you're done. And then when they mess up, we take corrective action to fix it because it was done incorrectly. And then we go out and do the same thing every day. There's no specific guidelines, no steps, nothing, no reward system. We just say, here, go do it. Here's your stuff. And that doesn't work because now if we have 20 different people doing it, we have 20 different ways of everything being done. And, I don't like that. I like things to be done in a specific way. So when a customer calls and says, hey, this guy did this, this, and this, no, he didn't, because they have rules and guidelines that they follow. Everybody has to do it the exact same way. And if they didn't do it that way, we have a problem. So lay out every process. Get everybody involved that you can. Look for things that waste money and time. Look for things that cause rework once you lay it all out and lost labor hours. When I was at the RCA service company as a service manager, one of the things we did, we installed telephone and television systems in hotels, hospitals, big commercial buildings. And we were always running over on hours, and it didn't make any sense when I first started there. In fact, at RCA, when I hired in, out of 138 locations, we were number 137. We were second worst in the country. 4.5 years later, when I got promoted, we were number 2 in profitability and quality and customer relations and surveys and all that. And it wasn't any like special thing that I did. It was just a matter of sitting down with the employees and coming up with better methods. So in reference to the installation systems, what we ran into a lot of times were people would go out, they'd get a job to do an installation. For example, we had to do a hotel, a one-story small hotel, install their telephones, systems, and TV antenna systems. And the guys would find out that they were out on this job that morning. I mean, no one gave them advance notice. And so they're running around the shop for 3 or 4 hours trying to get all the equipment together and get all the cable they need and the wire ties and a piece of plywood to mount on a wall and paint to paint it black. And I mean, it was like we've never done it before. You know, every job was like we've never done it before. And by the time they got out there, it was basically to unload everything, and the day was over. Nothing got completed. So, and I thought, what a waste of time, and it just didn't make any sense. So I wound up sitting down with everyone and trying to isolate all the potential problems, all the things that went wrong, and all the better ways of doing it. And we came up with a system that eliminated that half an hour or half a day in the shop getting things together, because I had a guy in the stock room that got it all together. We put together a installation truck. So everything was in the truck when the guys came in the morning, including every tool they could possibly use, and hammer drills or whatever they needed, you know, Hilti guns. It was all in there. And then when he went out on the job, we had a guy who was the lead man on the job that we assigned, who had worked with other trades to make sure we didn't get out there after they put the drywall in. You know, so everything was communicated and coordinated properly. And then when we went out on the job, every day everyone had an assigned amount of work that they had to complete. And prior to even working the job or scheduling it, I would sit down with the lead man and maybe another guy who was going to be on the job, and I'd sit down and tell them, here's the amount of hours we have on that job. How long do you think you can get it done for? What's the best you can do? And then we gave them a reward system that included gift certificates and things like that, because we had a union. I couldn't give them cash. You know, we had to have a contest. We called it a contest, but I gave them gift certificates. If they were under a certain amount of hours, they'd win a certain amount of level of gift certificates to beat the hours. But they didn't get awarded the hours until 90 days after the job was complete and booked, because I would minus off any rework or in-warranty stuff and everything else, because I didn't want them to hurry up and screw it all up and then get rewarded, and then we're back there for another 2 weeks for a bunch of goof-ups. Yeah, I'm not that stupid. So we waited 90 days after we booked it, and then they'd get their awards once all the hours are complete. Real simple. It wasn't my idea. It was their idea. They came up with it, you know, and it's a matter of communication. Your people have great ideas. You just have to ask and listen. So let people get involved. Look for all the things that you do that are stupid. Don't be afraid to ask for ideas, because what you want to do is just be more efficient. And it's funny, I go to these workshops, I go to these conventions, and there's everybody in the world is telling you how to market stuff. Everybody in the world is telling you how to sell more. Everybody in the world is telling you how to talk to customers to get them to buy more stuff. Who's in there really telling you what you need to do within your business to reduce waste and to eliminate waste of time and energy and money? The first thing you need to do before you go out marketing and trying to sell more and get more customers, to fix everything in-house and save money there. Fix that. You get that working, the rest will just come into place. So, set up the objectives. You're going to do a process map. You set the objectives. Here's our goal. We're going to reduce the amount of hours on installs at commercial jobs or whatever, or school system, whatever you decide. Then you define the issues and the particular roadblocks that you run into. And now you'll gain an understanding of your business systems. Here's the things that happen, and communicate that to your people out there. You have guys out there installing pipe and fixtures in a building. Do they understand your business systems? Well, they should. They should have a pretty good understanding how things work within your business. Billing, payroll, how money comes in and how money goes out. If they have a better understanding of all the things that happen and all the costs involved, and how much they need to bring in per hour just to pay for all the overhead, including themselves, they'd have a better understanding of why it's important to not waste time and waste equipment and waste material and waste money and waste hours. And at the same time, you have to focus on increasing your customer satisfaction and retention. What do I mean by retention? If you do it right and you do it consistently and you're not confusing your customer by doing things differently every time they deal with you, you have a good amount of retention of customers, and they'll tell others. And everyone should be happy at work. I put that in there for a reason. If I have certain rules and guidelines, and I know what exactly is expected of me, and I know that I'll get a reward or some sort of a feedback system that tells me I'm doing a good job, or if I'm doing something messed up, I'm happy at work. Because there's a lot of times I go on to companies, I'm talking to employees, and what do you think? How's it going? What's going on here? Well, I don't know. As long as nobody tells me anything, I guess I'm doing all right. Well, that's not how it should be. I guess some people like that, but most people like feedback. They like to know what's going on, not only in their own particular job, but also within the business itself. They like some information. Yeah, we're doing great. We're having a great year. Or things are kind of slow. We're going to have to be tight this year. I would like to know that as a member of an organization. So once you put together your processes and your systems and you have it in writing, keep in mind you want to answer common questions. You're looking for all the things that happen most every day that has to involve management or someone in office. We'll have those answers there available to them, especially nowadays when we have iPads and different tablets available to you out there. There's an incredible amount of stuff that you can put in the cloud-based system that gives all the answers to people. Hey, you run into this, go here. Run into this, go here. If you have this problem, go here. Customer asks this, go here. Simple. It's all available to you. Technology has every answer. They don't have to call Bill or Joe or Mike or Harry. You know, hey, call him. He knows more about it. Oh, why can't Harry put his information up in the cloud somewhere so someone can hit their screen and pull it down and look at it? It'll also have rules and regulations as to what to do when weather problems or emergencies come up. Do you have that system in place? What do you do when there's a snowstorm or a flood or a violent weather or power outage? Does everybody know what to do? They should. If not, you could put that on the system. Work rules. What happens if you call in sick too many times? What happens if you don't show up on a job? What happens if you are caught drinking or doing drugs? What happens if they find you texting and driving? What's the repercussions? They should know what that is. It shouldn't be something you think of at the time. Well, you know, you're the third guy I got caught smoking pot this month. I don't know what I'm going to do with. You should already know what to do with that person. You should have something in place that handles that issue. How do you handle complaints? What do you do when a customer is mad? What do you do when people are upset? What do you do with the reviews that are negative online? How do you handle all those things? There should be a method to resolve those. You don't have to come up with all these and have a memory bank in your head of how to handle this. Put them all on paper somewhere and put it in a computer and then share it with everybody. Here's how we do this. Customer calls and complaints, here's how we do this. We have bad review online on, you know, whatever review site. How do we handle that? How do we respond to it? Do we have a system that makes it better? You have a couple of bad reviews online, it'll lose you a bunch of business. How do you handle incoming phone calls at night? Do you have an answering service that annoys, that's just a recording that annoys people? Personally, I can't stand that. I just hang up, call somebody else. I want to talk to a real person. I want to handle it now, not tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon. I want to handle it now. Answering services, real answering services that are good are cheap. You need a referral, want to talk to somebody, call me, email me. I'll give you somebody to call and do a great job for you, and they're not expensive. Less than one service call is what they cost. So all you need is one more customer per month. I think you can do that if you have real people answering your phone. Safety training, how do you do that? You know, there's certain guidelines you have to follow as far as, you know, lockout, tag out, working around chemicals, back safety, you know, various things, bloodborne pathogens. How do you handle that? How do you make sure it gets done? How do you make sure that all the OSHA requirements are met? You need to have that in place. Now, I know I'm giving you a lot of stuff. Like, Frank, how can we do all this? Just take one little piece at a time. That's how you do it. Government regulations and compliance, following the code book. How's that done properly? Who's supposed to do that? Who's in charge? Simple business things that have to be done. You take a little piece at a time, knock it off, get it done, and take the next one. Now, when I talked about process mapping, I said you could put sticky notes up on a wall. Here's an incredible process map. I mean, it's got all kinds of things on it. It should look kind of like this. And then you can move things around and scratch them off or remove them or find a better way. But when you start, it looks like that. So let's do one right here. Here's one of we're going to go install something or fix something. This is how we do it. We tell the person, go get your stuff, go install it here, make it work, and if it doesn't work, we'll fix it. And that's kind of how most businesses run. There's no detail any more than that. Here's your stuff, go do this, make it work, and if something doesn't work, make it work or fix it. What it should be is more, it should look like this. Here's all your stuff. Here's how you install it. 1, 2, 3, and all the information they need to get the job done in case something comes up. I would rather have the information there. Just like when you buy a new car, they give you an owner's manual. It has everything you could possibly think in it. Do you ever open it? No. But that occasion when some weird thing happens and it comes up, guess what? It's great to have it there. Like when I got a car and I went to have an oil change and this thing kept beeping all the time every time I started the car and it was like oil change necessary. I already had my oil change. Well, I didn't know there was a certain step of processes that I had to follow to make that little beeping thing and that light go away. I got it in the owner's manual. So what we want to do is create a little owner's manual for everybody on their job so should something come up, they don't try to guess at it and do it wrong or bug somebody else. They just look in the book or the manual or look online. So even here we have, here's the potential problems, here's the things that could happen, and if you still have a problem, here's the guy to call that could help you. And then when they do a good job, they get a reward. And if things are messed up, they get a little penalty. Pretty simple. You know, that's what I do with my kids. They both turned out great. Odds of success are higher if you follow the recipe. I like to cook. And sometimes I create my own recipes or I'll follow someone else's. However, I can't just randomly change things in the recipe and hope for the same consistent output. In other words, I can't say, well, I don't have any oregano, so I think I'll use parsley. You know, it doesn't work, or some other thing. No, you have to use what it says you have to use. So the reason we have recipes is the same reason you need processes. You want a consistent output. You want things to be exactly the way they're intended. And I've always said, I like this quote from Yogi Berra. If you don't know where you're going, you'll probably end up someplace else. I like to control my own destiny. I like to know where I'm going. Some people in life, their life is like this, and their business is like this. They load everybody up into a van, and they start driving. And they don't punch any address or anything in their GPS. In fact, they don't even have a destination. They're just driving. And then finally, someone in the van says to them, hey, where are we going? And your response is, I'm not really sure, but I hope it's awesome. And that's kind of how some people run their business. It's like going on a vacation. And you're just kind of wandering around, driving around, hoping for something awesome to happen. And you're taking up all these people's time. And they don't really know what's going on. And they have no plan, and you have no plan. And you're hoping that things are great. Well, the only way things are going to be great if you plan it and if you focus on the goal, on the outcome. But you can't have an outcome unless you have a specific plan to get there. You can't have any direction unless you know where you're going. It's like, which way do you want to go? I don't know, but at least we're going. Well, that's pretty stupid. Why are you wasting all the energy for accomplishing nothing? So you need to have an objective, a long-term and short-term goal. Then you need to have a plan and a specific plan to get you there. And then you need to have the structure to make it happen. And then you need the systems and the processes there to make sure everybody knows what their specific job is and how you want them to do it to the best of their ability. Of course, they're not robots. They're going to do things their way to a certain point, but there's certain guidelines they have to follow. Once they get down the path and they do it well, there needs to be a feedback mechanism that gives them a reward. There also has to be a mechanism to let them know when they messed up. And the worst thing you can do with an employee is to have them mess up and no one does anything, because they don't know the difference. They keep doing it wrong. And then you finally get fed up after a year and you have a confrontation. Oh, that's not the way to run things. If someone's messed up, they need to know now. In fact, I remember going out to a customer. It was a heating and air contractor, did commercial work. And first time there, I went out in the parking lot and I met a young guy. Just started with the company a month and a half prior. And I say, hey, how you doing? Great guys. I love this place. Best job I ever had. These people are awesome. You know, they really care about their employees. I said, well, good. We're starting off right. I've never been here before. So I met the owner at a workshop somewhere, and he invited me to come in and see if I can fix some things for him because he was getting ready to sell the company. So I gave it I came in and see what I can do for him. But this guy was awesome. I liked him. So I go in and meet the president of the company, and I say, hey, I met so-and-so out in the parking lot. Nice guy, new employer. I really like him. And the president of the company says, yeah, we had a problem. He said something stupid to a customer yesterday, so I'm going to have to talk to him. And I said, oh, that's too bad. I think the guy's pretty good. And I said, well, I'm sure it's not a big deal and he'll fix it. He said, yeah. So I did my thing and helped him get his company priced properly and tried to find him, try to build processes in his place. And we had some issues here and there. I'm pretty blunt, so I tell people the way things are, so sometimes people get upset, but hey, that's why they hired me. Well, anyway, we go by a couple months, and I present the findings to him, found him a couple of people interested in buying his company, and I said, oh, by the way, whatever happened with that guy who I met in the parking lot, that young guy, the new guy who I thought had a great attitude? He says, oh, yeah, I haven't had a chance to talk to him yet. It's 4 months. I have dogs. I have a couple of dogs. If my dog pees on the floor, I instantly take him over there and shove his face in it and let him know that this is bad behavior. If I waited a month and a half or 3 or 4 months, it would have no value whatsoever because the dog would think, what the heck's he shoving my face on the carpet for? What's going on? I don't understand this. That's how people are. Think about it. All right, now we're at a point where we can do some Q&A if you are so desired to do so. I hope you enjoyed the program. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. Let me see if I can get that screen up again. Well, my email, I'll tell you to you. It's Frank Presents, FRANKPRESENTS @gmail.com. My phone number is 888-538-5383. My website is Frank Presents, FRANKPRESENTS frankpresents.com. I'm sorry, frankpresents.com.
Okay, so we do have a couple questions here. How is the level of management in the small business companies in the U.S.? Are they able to understand the concepts that you were talking about?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. I think so, because I like things very simple and easy to understand. That's probably one of my assets, I think. I was able to take my 5- and 7-year-old, and they understood everything they have to do every day and what was supposed to be accomplished, and that's the reason I bring that story in there. If I could get my 5- and 7-year-old to look at the wall on a piece of paper on Tuesday morning to see what had to be accomplished Tuesday morning, I think a small business contractor can probably do the same thing for their customer, not for the customer, for their employees. Start small. I mean, I talked about a lot of stuff, but start small. Just set up a couple little things. What do you do in case of emergency? How do we handle things when there's weather problems? And make sure that's put in place. Have a set of rules that you wrote down or typed up and put on a sheet, and everybody sign that document. Hey, here's the rules we follow. You mess up, here's the penalty. And then you go into the real processes in a business. How do we answer the phone properly? What are we supposed to say? If the customer says this, how do we respond to that? you know, and then work with the people who answer the phones to put that together. And then once you have that set up, then you say, how do we properly dispatch? What are the guidelines we follow? What's the paperwork trail that we use? And it may take you a year or two to get through everything, but you can do one thing every couple of weeks and get it done, and the people will really feel much better organized and happier at their job. And you'll be making more money because you're more productive, and your quality starts increasing.
Perfect. I think you answered this at the very end, but when is the right time to introduce this approach?
Anytime. And, you know, because I've heard people, oh, no, we're just too busy right now. Well, here's the perfect time, because while you're busy, you can take and start implementing little pieces of systems and processes in your plate. Heck, there's software out there. I mean, if you're doing everything by hand on paper and you're having paper invoices, why? I mean, there's software out there that'll help you do all this stuff. If you want a recommendation, call me. I have these vendors calling me constantly, want me to look at their stuff. So I've kind of weaned out the garbage, and I got a couple I think that work pretty well that I think, you know, depending upon the size and type of business you have. But there's software out there that's easy to implement. You know, you might take an hour of training, and next thing you know, you're proficient. It's just a matter of click, 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 and it's done, you know, and they build everything in for you for all your customer quotes. You know, all your pricing is in there. Everything you want to say to the customer, they'll put in there. It's not that difficult. And if you're busy and you're doing everything messed up, look at all the money you're potentially losing because of poor performance. You know, when you're busy is when you should be doing things well, not wrong. So anytime. Long answer for a short question.
I think that was a good answer. So, one more quick question. How would you reward a good, productive, and profitable employee? And I know that's kind of vague, but I guess your opinion?
I would, if you're going to start a reward program, first of all, make sure you give them positive feedback. That's a great reward there. Just call them up, say, hey, man, I saw what you did yesterday. Awesome job. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. You're special to me here. You know, I mean, just that's a huge deal. But if you want to start giving them like financial rewards or, you know, like trips or nights out to dinner or stuff like that, it's nice to throw in an occasional surprise every once in a while. That's nice where, hey, you know, you did a great job. You guys out on that job did a great job. We did really well. We were under the hours. Everybody gets a $100 gift certificate for this restaurant. That's awesome. I mean, that's stuff that people don't expect. And then you give it to them and they think, man, that's great. I'm glad I worked hard. Then you can also ask them. Put them in when you have a meeting, you know, with everybody, just say, hey, you know, I've been thinking of having some kind of compensation program that rewards people for good behavior or for high revenue or whatever, and ask them what they think and see what they can come up with, you know. And it's surprising what great ideas your employees will come up with. You just give them the opportunity to voice that idea.
All right, perfect. We got a bunch of thank yous and great presentations for you, Frank.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you very much. I had a good time. I appreciate it.